Fated Wolves, Mpreg Shifter Romance. Written by Kaleidoscope Press. Narrated by C. Allen Kelly. Chapter 1. Elijah. "You're late again, Eli," Diego yelled from across the tattoo studio. He was busy working on a client, the low hum of the buzzing tattoo machine filling the room. "Sorry, I missed my bus," Elijah said apologetically, slinging off his backpack and heading to the sink to wash his hands. He knew Diego wasn't mad or anything, but since he was his boss, he still had to enforce some sort of management on his tardiness. Max walked out of the back room. "All good, man. You can close up on your own tonight. Diego and I scored tickets to the Queen of the Stone Age concert." "Yeah, sure. No problem," Elijah said, with a wave of satisfaction that they trusted him enough with the responsibility. He had started working at Luna Inc. 3 months ago, after practically begging the owners and twin brothers to take him on as their new apprentice. He knew it wasn't normal to take on a human in their shifter family business, but he eventually won Diego and Max over with his enthusiasm, and they'd given him the job despite some disapproval from other shifters in their circle. It had been the best 3 months of Elijah's life working at the studio. He had always loved art, and the older he got, the more he knew that he wanted to ink people for a living. He was addicted to everything about tattooing. The sterile smell of the studio, the low hum of the tattoo machine, the burning pain of the needle piercing the skin. When he'd left the boys' home he'd grown up in on his 18th birthday to make his way in the world alone, he'd gone around every studio in Portland, trying to find one that would give him a shot. It was Luna Inc. that he was set on working at, though. He was intrigued by its twin owners, and especially the fact that they were wolf shifters, and so were most of their clients. Elijah couldn't pinpoint exactly when his fascination with the other kind began, but for as long as he could remember, he had dreamed of being one of them. He often thought how great it would feel to be a part of something big, part of a pack, have people looking out for you, no matter what. Elijah had grown up moving from boys' home to boys' home after his parents died, when he was just 2 years old. None of his other relatives could take him in, and no adoptive parents had ever taken an interest in him. So he was as alone now as he'd always been. He had his friends who he'd grown up with, his brothers of circumstance, yet still he never felt like he really fit in anywhere, and it was proven how shallow those relationships really were since no one had bothered to check in on him since he'd left. "You almost done with that Phoenix back piece?" Max asked, breaking him away from his thoughts. "I'll have it ready in the next hour," Elijah told him, sitting behind the front counter and setting up his art station. He hadn't actually tattooed anyone yet, apart from practicing on himself. For now, he just swept the floors and set up the equipment, as well as working on various designs. He loved it. Not so much the cleaning, but drawing pictures that were actually going to be tattooed on people gave him a real thrill. "What time's Cory coming in?" Diego asked Max, who was now digging into a meatball sub. "He's booked in for 11, so he should be here soon," he replied. "I'm so jealous you get to work on that hunk. One day, I'm going to trick him into working with me just so I can feel those abs of his," Diego joked. Elijah laughed, not knowing who Cory was, but still finding his comment amusing. Despite being twins, Max and Diego were noticeably different people. Diego had shoulder-length dark hair, a lip and eyebrow ring, and dressed like he was going to a Marilyn Manson concert. Max, on the other hand, had his dark hair cut short, was buff from his hours spent at the gym, and had a pretty regular style apart from the fact that he was covered in tattoos. The main things the twins had in common, however, were that they both loved tattooing as much as they loved hot, tattooed men. It was a relief for Elijah to find out that his bosses were gay, and finally gave him the chance to accept his own sexuality. He'd fooled around with some of
Sample complete. Ready to continue?